Kings and Queens, Your Majesties, welcome back to the channel. Thank you so much for returning. Trust you and yours are well, and you loving yourself and others like always. Many thanks to all of you for the support you give to the channel. Thank you so much to our channel members, to our anonymous supporters, to all of you, my team subscribers. You loved, celebrated, and of course appreciated. I want us to talk a little bit about the Sahel region today again, because of recent happening in the Sahel. It seems like there is another fresh preparations made to take over the Sahel. So this time, they are not just targeting a nation alone, one at a time. They are doing it at the same time. So the whole Sahel region, they want to take it out. They want to, reinstate their reign again in the Sahel. So they are using the mercenaries they always use. They are using their tool, so-called jihadists, so-called Al-Qaedas, to do this dirty work for them, which is ongoing as we speak, Your Majesties. Because just this month, there have been simultaneous attack on the countries in the Sahel region. And on the 2nd of June, militants targeted both the military camp, okay, and the ancient airports in the northern city of Timbuktu. That's of Mali, okay, and the same way they are targeting Mali, targeting strategic points in Mali, making sure that they take over places of significance. They are doing the same thing in Niger. They are doing the same thing in Burkina Faso. Now, the truth is that we are all aware of how these leaders were successful in taking over power from the hands of puppet leaders, at the same time taking over power from the hold of colonial masters, from the hold of Europe and America. And it was never easy for them. It was a step that they needed to take for the sake of their people.
All these former colonies hosted French troops. They were all part of a security grouping called the G5 Sahel. All these former French colonies were dealing with a common problem, terrorism. That was France's justification to deploy troops. But they failed to fix the problem. They failed to contain the terrorist groups. So slowly the African nations started getting annoyed. 3 of them recently had coups: Mali, Burkina Faso and Niger. Their militaries overthrew the civilian governments and then they kicked out the French troops as well. These coup-hit Sahel nations blame France for their terror problem. They say the French troops were not doing enough. And ordinary people seem to agree because anti-France sentiment has been brewing in the Sahel. It's prevalent in Chad as well. And this may have contributed to the government's decision. The third and the last reason for this break may have been Russia. Moscow has been courting African nations, especially former French colonies. Mali, Burkina Faso and Niger have all switched allies. They kicked out the French and they brought in the Russians.
And we are all aware that Europe at this point is going bankrupt, because the region where, especially France, because the region where there's stocked lots of materials from, lots of raw material, this region at this point cut off from their hold, and this region is gradually stabilizing their economy and gradually regaining the strength which they had before colonization. And of course, Europe at this point, there was a time France had depended solely on this region. They never expected that one day these people will rebel. And even if they're going to rebel, they never expected that it was going to happen the way it happened. So it's like they were never prepared for the change of government, the change of hands, okay? They were never prepared that this change would come so quickly. And this is also sending a warning to, Anglophone nations. So these are what I want to bring to your notice, because there have been a lot of recent attacks on the Sahel region at a time. At a time, they are doing this thing at a time just to weaken the whole power, the 3 region power, to weaken their power and overtake them. And we have the Mali's foreign minister accusing Ukraine of supporting terrorism in their region in Africa. Okay, and it is said that Ukraine had debunked this from, whenever something like this is happening, This is not the first time that Ukraine is being accused of supporting terrorism in the Sahel region. Mali had accused Ukraine last year of the same thing, supporting terrorism. And the reason why they're accusing Ukraine is because they found because most of the ammunition used are ammunition coming from that angle. So that is why there's a strong evidence that proves that Zelensky is in one way or the other supporting the terrorists in the Sahel. And if Zelensky is supporting the terrorists in the Sahel, or ammunition found that were used by these terrorists are coming from Ukraine. Definitely, the collective West are the ones who are orchestrating the destruction in the Sahel. The collective West are the ones who are funding these terrorists in the Sahel region, because we are all aware that America backs Ukraine. We are all aware that the whole of Europe backs Ukraine, supports Ukraine against Russia. They supply weapons to Ukraine. And if the weapon that is of the Ukrainian government is found being used by terrorists in the Sahel, that is just an answer to let us know that the collective West are the ones who are orchestrating all this destruction in the Sahel. This is our own evidence. This is our own evidence. And always Zelensky will come out and debunk. Zelensky will come out and say it is not true. Now, I want to take you through the news. When you listen to the news, it says that Ukraine poses a threat to Africa's security and supports terrorism. This was announced on April 7th by the Minister of Foreign Affairs of Mali, Abdoulaye Diop. Now, this is something that we see. The reason why Mali is strongly accusing Ukraine, or the Sahel is strongly accusing Ukraine, is because they got this solid evidence in their hand. Your Majesty, they got this solid evidence in their hand. I must say that Mali, which had also severed relations with Ukraine, considers Ukraine a terrorist state to the extent that Ukraine has openly called for and declared its support for terrorist group in the Sahel, and in particular in Mali, which has led to death of many of our soldiers and citizens of Mali. He said, "What are we waiting for? The evidence is there." If Zelensky openly said that he support terrorists, or he was accused and then he agreed that he support terrorists, then the collective West are the ones who are destroying the Sahel, trying their best to disrupt the growth in the Sahel. According to Diop, Ukraine must take responsibility and avoid its negative perception from the African peoples who may consider Kyiv a source of instability and an irresponsible player in the international arena. Now, Mali cut off relationship with Ukraine because they noticed that Ukraine was supporting the terrorists that were destroying their nation. So they severed ties with Ukraine. And so it's not new. It's not new. It's not just a fresh accusation. Your Majesties, it's not just a fresh accusation against the Malian government. It's something that had existed, that a truth that have existed for some years now. That is the reason why Mali decided to cut off relationship with Ukraine, because they got aware that Ukraine were part of those who were supporting the terrorist group in the Sahel region. Now, why should Ukraine support terrorist group? Now, if we are all saying that Ukraine is so innocent, Zelensky is so innocent that he is suffering from the hands of of Putin, who is a bad man according to the world, destroying Ukraine. Zelensky should be one of those who should understand what it is how it feels to see your nation being destroyed. And then this is the same Zelensky who is arming terrorists to go to the Sahel region to go destroy the Sahel. And he is doing this because he was asked to. Zelensky will not just have the mind to just jump into Africa and begin to fund terrorists or give ammunition to terrorists. He is doing this a calculated plan. They are doing this because this is what they want. They want to take down the Sahel so bad that they can go to any extent. They can go to any length just to take down the Sahel. For them, anything can go in. They can become useless. They can become so stupid, wicked, whatever you call them, because their aim is what they are targeting. They don't care the name you call them. If you like, say whatever you want to say. Their aim is to take down the Sahel. And that's why at this point, Pan-Africans are saying, okay, it is best that we draw the attention of the world again to the situation in the Sahel, that this group of people, the collective West, okay, are creating, initiating fresh plans to go destroy the Sahel yet again. And the world should be aware that after the Sahel kicked out these so-called powers holding them, they had liberated themselves from a whole lot. They are growing so rapidly. Their economy is stabilizing. Niger, it's like it's a miracle going on there. Burkina Faso, it's like it's a miracle going on there. Mali, it's like it's a miracle happening there. Something that a lot of people never expected. Their lives just changed. The citizens are happy with their leadership. And the world should also be aware that Europe and America are planning a lot more to just take down the Sahel. What is the crime of the Sahelians? Because they want to be independent. The crime of these freedom fighters is because they want to be independent. And when you look into mainstream media as a news outlet, they call these people juntas. They call them tyrants. They call them, you can. The names are there. They call them so many names to just make people hate them, and they've succeeded in making some Africans hate the Sahel leaders. But we are saying that the crime that these people committed is a crime of freeing their people from the hold of colonialism, from the crime that these people committed is the crime of freeing their people from the hold of imperialism, from the hold of colonial masters. This is just the crime that these people committed to stabilize their economy once again. That is the crime that these Sahel leaders committed to make their country home again, so that those abroad can boast, hit their chest and say, I am coming from Niger, I'm coming from Burkina Faso, I am coming from Mali. This is the only crime that the Sahel leaders have committed. That is it. To make the resources that they have not a curse to them, but a blessing to them. To make the poorest of them in their nations be able to feed their family. This is a crime. This is the only crime that the Sahel leaders have committed to make their citizens live comfortably, to make their citizens live comfortably in their own homeland, in their own inheritance. This is the only crime that the Sahel leaders committed. Leave your thoughts and opinion there at the section. I'm going to see you in my next one. Until then, love yourself, love others, stay safe, stay positive always. Your Majesties. Bye for now.